Recording in progress. Special
Can I
meeting.
go grab something really
Sure.
quick? Oh, never mind, I have it here. I was like, no, bring that in. All right, no problem, good.
I'd like to call this special meeting of the Saugatuck Township Board to order today on Friday, November 4, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. I assume everybody is familiar with Zoom. Daniel, do you feel that we need to make a comment about that?
I don't think so, and we did publish all the instructions to people who are watching on Zoom in the chat.
We agreed to skip those.
Okay, that brings us to roll call. Aldrich is absent with notice or cause. Helmrich,
Here.
Israel's,
Here,
Marcy,
here.
Bigford here. We have a quorum. All right, that brings us to public comments. Do we have public comments? No, just concerned citizens. Public comment? Morgan, do we have anybody on Zoom? Nope. Okay. Approval of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published or as presented.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
I'll support that.
Motion by Marcy, support by Israel's. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. New business, item A, election compensation. If you're agreeable, Clerk Israel's, I would like you to talk about why we added this to the agenda today and what you've learned in your research, and just give us a summary, please.
Okay, I will. Thank you. I asked for this to be on the agenda today because we've had some discussion about how to pay board members and or staff members when they work the election. So I'll briefly go through this, but I started in the beginning, I started with Allegan County to get input on how to compensate people within our domain for the election. And through information from Bob and Jen, I was informed that compensating our deputy clerk was permissible and done by many other townships. So I was advised to consult with 3 other townships then, which he gave me names of. And after talking to them too, I was made aware that the deputy could use compensation time, I believe is what she was given in the past, which is something that's not recommended. What?
Comparable time.
Right.
Comp time, well, you call it comp time, it's comp time, but, and she has accrued comp time, and that's not something that's normally done anymore, so. They said she could use her accrued comp time for that, actual work day and then be compensated in the election as a normal election worker, so, we decided that we would do that when we had our election commission meeting. And the deputy can also be compensated for time as an election worker when she comes in on that extra day during the week to register voters and working that extra day. So that would also be comparable to the election workers. So a salaried non-elected official can work hours in the election is what I learned, especially if needed, as long as they work hours in their regular position. That's what I was told. So going on, and then I asked about compensation for board members working the election. And I was told it was okay to compensate board members at that time, because as long as the salaried board member worked part of the day in their regular job, that's their expectation. They're salaried, they're not based on hourly wage. And I was also told that the reimbursement should be equal to other inspectors. And through discussion, it was explained that as a salaried elected official, and I'm going to just use John for example, he could say to me, oh, I'm not working today, which, you know, would be fine, or I'm going to work a couple hours today and I'm going to work for Saugatuck all day in their election. We would rather have them here. And so this is normal practice. But anyway, so we kind of went through all that, and we really want to benefit our own election by having the best people in it. And then non-salaried board members, staff can also work the election under the same guidance. So that would be Daniel. And so it was cautioned then by county officials that using elected officials should be done with caution. When they gave me this advice, and they said, you know, there's 3 things to be cautious about. They can have an intimidating presence in the election arena. They also contribute by their expertise to a lack of inexperienced poll workers for the election where we really need them. So they said, use the community, and they just said elections are such a great way to get community support and engagement. And so they said, be careful, be selective, and be wise. And I thought, okay, we can do that. So then the election commission met, we approved the report on October 12th, and that's kind of where we were going. Going forward, though, we brought this up to our auditors when they were here, and they're really glad that we're eliminating the comp time element for Lori. And one of them said that their wife was in HR for, I don't know, 30 years, and she just hates comp time. And they said they don't use it. So they said they advised that we ask our attorney for clarity on board members working the election. So darn, I thought I'm starting over. Fast forward, I went and talked with Ron Bolchi on the phone. I didn't go and talk to him, I'm sorry, but he questioned having employees or employers act as employees. And he said, board members are employers. And he said, now you're asking them to act as employees. And he said, that's a bit of a conflict in his mind. He suggested board members not be paid between the hours of 8 and 4. I asked about non-working board members, and he said, you know, that's okay. You know, he just suggested board members work as volunteers. Well, that wasn't the information I was getting. And so then Abby, I talked to her on the phone, and she said, call MTA. I called MTA, and it was like, oh, question we get all the time, no problem, you can do this as long as you have under 40,000 people in your township. That was Cindy Dodge. She said they respond to this question often. She stated that clearly board members can be paid to work the election because it's not within the statute of their position. And if you're in a township of less than 40,000 people, this is permissible. It has precedence, and the single requirement is that it has a general board approval of majority vote. She went on to say that she hopes we get this resolved at a board meeting really quick and we proceed forward. And so therefore the 18-hour notice, thank you, Daniel, and the request for the motion today. And do you have any questions about that?
I'd like to make a comment, sounds like John put this too. I'd like to know as well, for those that you don't know, for instance, well, Clerk Israel's, because it is part of her elected statutory duties, does not get compensated, as I did not get compensated when I was clerk for working the elections. That's your the bear.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get compensated. She's just looking at, and I do think it's important to have a mix of community members to get them engaged, particularly to educate them about how safe and secure and what a process our elections are. We want more people in, but as a former clerk, and I know Becky is thinking about, we also need the most seasoned, experienced people here so that election runs smoothly. If there are any problems, you have lots of people to respond to it that have been there, done that. So I think I commend you for, you know, really flushing that out and being really cognizant that you do have to have a good mix. And I think that's really prudent. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. You brought up some really good points. And it is an opportunity for us as a township actually to foster relationships. And we do have additional election workers and people trained. And I'm fully staffed for the election right now. And I've sent out the master chart to many of you. And so the day is very complete. And we did have, you know, one person that contacted me this morning, and she said, oh, I'd really like to work. I said, I don't have a spot for you, but I will, you know, put this email, I sent her a nice email, I said, I'll put it in our folder with it, and next election, I'll be sure to contact you. Well, 5 minutes later, what's our neighboring county?
Manlius.
Manlius. Yeah, Manlius posted that they needed someone, and I asked if they would call her. I didn't want to send her information without her permission, and she's gonna work there from 6 in the morning till through the entire night, so.
Hopefully she'll want
Yes,
to keep
she's a
going after
queen.
that.
So anyway, I'm really glad that we can do that, and they're very thankful for it. They need 3 people.
Wow.
So, yeah, I thought that was really good. So we could share her. And that's my update. Sorry to take so long.
Thanks for all that hard work. No, and I'm sorry it happened kind of last minute after.
It's
the
okay. Yeah.
Commission had already made these changes.
Yeah.
I just want to say 2 things. One, in the 20 years I've lived here and been voting in the township, every election has had board members
Oh, I know.
at them.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Well, unless they're on the ballot, then.
right,
Yeah,
exactly, good point.
Right.
Traditionally. And the second thing, I just want to remind my colleagues, MTA underscored something we learned when we took office, that 40,000 people rule is really important.
Yeah.
And it's the same rule that allowed me to make Brenda my deputy treasurer and compensate her on an hourly basis.
Yeah,
Just different. And I'm kind of surprised Ron Bolge didn't know that, but
I was surprised too, because I know Abby and I spoke about that a little bit too, and compensating people for some additional work in the office, and they said it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
okay, so
Just highlights what a
We've all been
resource that
reminded.
MTA is.
Yeah.
thank you.
You know,
they are, yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that they're a great first call. Because most of the time, you'll never have to make another call to peers or other.
but sometimes I just forget and I'm like, oh yeah,
And they're
why don't
free.
we call them?
And I
They don't
love it.
charge.
And they, like the experts answer the phone.
Yes.
You don't have to wait.
Right.
No,
Back
Isn't
on
it
the
amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
doing
it is.
Yep.
So thank you for being here.
Smartest thing we ever did, join the MTA.
Yep.
Agreed.
Oh, God.
So,
Well, if there's no further discussion or questions, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to authorize election compensation for all township board members who work the November 8th election and for all board members who work any and all subsequent elections.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Marcy, support by Helmut. This is a roll call. Marcy,
Yes.
Helmut,
Yes.
Bigford, yes, Israel's.
yes,
Motion carries 4-0. Okay. The next item on our agenda is office renovation scope change. I've heard a little bit about this, but Daniel, would you please tell us more about the changes in the office layout systems, how the office will be set up and what that might mean for us in a monetary amount?
Absolutely. So we've been working very hard to go out for bid and to sign all contracts before the new year, because that will save us money in the long run. This is only the second change order that we've had so far. The first was at the very beginning when we kind of reset the process. So we kind of had to a little bit scrap some of the design element that we had and start over. This change is related to us moving in more of a systems direction for the office. It also has to do with some requests that we provided to our first representative from Arba Marsh, because we had a change. Our representative originally got a new job, and so he left, so we were assigned somebody else. And I think that there might have been some things left behind or not communicated. So we've all been working, the design committee have been working with our new representative, Gary, and I kind of called to attention some items that weren't addressed, including preparing the roof for a solar installation. That's not something that's on the table, but that's a future goal that we had let them know that we were interested in. So that requires some prep work, so it can go in easily and we save money in the long run. And there was some there wasn't any attention drawn to the drain spout that we have that's gonna be moved outside. So we are moving quickly, and the changes that we're requesting are going to require a slight change in the design scope, which was come to a total of $3,450. Abba Marsh is requesting that we sign this, the board approve this pretty quickly, just so that they can ensure that all of the work is done, so that we can go out for bid in November and wrap up everything before the end of the new year and lock in those prices. So I did ask them if this could wait till next week, and they said, not really. They said you could, but it will delay the process. So that's why I kind of felt the need to put it on the agenda for today.
Any questions or comments?
I have one. I think you've already mentioned this, maybe even in one of your reports, systems. The focusing on the systems, you mean modular, does it make them more modular so that you can, is that what you mean by systems? Okay.
Exactly, yeah, it's more modular, it's
Yeah.
not stick built, so if
Yes.
we ever wanted to
Yes.
rearrange the office, we have that flexibility.
Yeah, that's great.
So it does give us more flexibility in the long run. There might be, we haven't seen the full price differential. We imagine it might be slightly more for the systems, but I think the flexibility is a huge added bonus. There's also increased sound insulation from the systems. So we felt that it was a good option for us.
So you don't feel, so you've already answered part of my question about the sound, that anything's compromised with like. And I mean privacy in the way, like, so you can get your work done, not be distracted, and privacy and sound, and just adding to a better efficiency of the office so that people can do their work in peace and quiet, or only the one person that's dealing with the customer is the one, in the common area or whatever. Like, there's nothing that you feel is being compromised from a stick-built approach to a modular.
It's a great question, because it's something that we mulled over in the design committee, and we actually Clerk Israel set this up, which was really fabulous. We went out to the Hayworth site because the company that we're working for with furniture, MOE, is a representative of Hayworth. Hayworth has the state contract, so we're going to get the best rates out of any furniture company working with Hayworth. So we went out to the Hayworth site, and we actually got to see the chairs, the furniture pieces, and the systems installation that we were, considering. The systems go all the way to the ceiling. So they have these beautiful clear stories, so windows to increase light, but they're great for sound insulation. So we feel like the moving towards the systems gives us the privacy, gives us the sound insulation, but gives us the flexibility to modify the office if that's ever required in the future. And then also gave us kind of that nice flexibility of increasing just kind of light throughout, light disbursement throughout the office. So we thought that aesthetically, from a privacy perspective, from a sound insulation perspective, that was the best route to go.
Also, can I add
Of
one
course.
thing? Because it is a fabric, and it is about a 2.5-inch system. All your wires and cords and things like that are in your office and all over the floor now will be housed in those systems. And then they have electrical plug units in them if you need to use it. So that's really nice. And because it's a fabric, it absorbs sound, which is really nice. And the doors are glass going into your office space. And so, so you won't feel like you're enclosed, and yet you can always keep your door open too, which is nice. And Lori prefers more of an open office space because that's how she flows. But her office will now be the first one on the right when you walk in, and it will be open. The rest of the offices will be enclosed. And that's her preference. and we did an evaluation in the beginning of everyone and what their needs were, and we tried to be very attentive to that, because some people needed a space with a much wider, what Cindy or anyone looking at building plans would need it. So we accommodated for all that. I think functionally, it does work better than what we have now, where everybody's in the middle.
And we have no sound areas.
I know.
privacy. One more question about the systems, say, you know, at some point, Lori's like, I won the lotto, I'm retiring early, or the
You can
state
enclose it.
police, we won't let her go, right? First of all, we won't let her, we'll say, no, sorry, that's
You
not
get
gonna
the
work.
handcuffs.
So the systems can, like, are they just like, well, no, we no longer manufacture those are from 6 years ago? Oh, really? Okay, that's good news.
No,
Or
that
if
won't
we
be a
were, say
problem.
the state police were like, we found a better space for us, we're moving out, and we acquired that space, we could,
They'll all blend.
okay,
They
good,
can blend.
that's very.
And if
good
someone
point.
is in Lori's position as the clerk or deputy clerk down the line in the future, and they say, I don't want an open office, that's easily resolved, too.
Okay.
Easily resolved, so
Good,
there's a lot of variables in that.
Yeah, or if we break down that wall, it's very easy to
Oh.
take down the interior walls. Because they're kind of like a furniture piece, and then rearrange things and then repurpose those pieces.
right,
So that's the real benefit, that we can't say if our, you know, if our neighbors will always need that space. And it's been kind of challenging for the renovation, because they could pull the lease next year, they could keep it for another 20 years. And if we needed the space in the future and they didn't want to be there anymore, and we had stick-built construction, you're talking about complete demolition. And this way, we would have a lot of the interior walls, they would come down very easily, and then they could be put back in, you know, a different configuration.
good news. Any other questions or comments? I'm ready for a motion if anybody's ready to do so.
I'll move to approve the requested project scope change from Avon Marsh for the township office renovation project.
Motion by Israel, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Marcy. It's the voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, so the next agenda item is project scope change for repaving 60th Street. We've talked a lot about this. It's not the first time we've seen this on the agenda, but it sounds like there's a potential change. Daniel, can you please give us the background on this and the ask today?
Absolutely. So we've known that we needed to repave 60th Street for a few years. We finally have come to an agreement with our neighbors in Manlius Township that they would like to repave it, we would like to
Well done.
repave it. That we're splitting the cost of that 50-50, which is fantastic. Originally, the scope of the project was 60th Street from Old Allegan to 136th Avenue. And I think that in the mind of the road commission, they were always thinking the full extent of 60th, which 60th does have a little node that extends south from Old Allegan and dead ends at the Kalamazoo River. So they circled back to us because they realized that the approved plan only approved repaving from Old Allegan to 136th.
Right.
And they reached out to both us and Manlius and said, your project now is about 2 miles, it's about $200,000. For another $60,000, we really think it's important to pave that last little node, that it's gonna be cheaper if we do it now, it's gonna be less machinery on that road. It's gonna cost about $60,000, which would be split between us and Manlius. I consulted with our engineer, Dana Bird. Dana thought it was a great idea. I called up the supervisor in Manlius. He was also supportive of it. I let him know that I was going to be bringing it to the board, but it's another thing that just kind of came up, and the road commission's looking for kind of a quick answer from us. The cost would be coming out of the road fund, which we have a very healthy fund balance.
Yes, we do.
So we have about $2.6 million in that fund balance right now, and this is a $30,000 ask.
So the total is 60 and we're being asked at the 30. Okay, got it.
That's correct, yeah.
Can you see, can you see, I want to make sure
Yeah.
I've got the note right. It's the red line here.
It's the red line, so that's the other thing that I printed
You
this
can
out.
See that it's a little bit of the river. It's not, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I wanted you to see that that little node also has a Pacer rating of 2, which is very poor, so it's on the,
Yeah.
it's on the brink of
I lived
failure.
there about 10 years ago when I'd walk my dogs down to the river and back because it was 3 miles total, whatever. And it was bad then already. So that's,
Yeah,
I don't think there's been any work on it.
and they're also gonna be repaving Old Allegan Road, so they would be repaving 60th and then Old Allegan, and then maybe next year or 2 years, they have to have all that heavy machinery just to pave that little node. So that's
Okay.
kind of, yeah, where they're at. They want to know, like, the road commission is recommending this, but they realize that it doesn't necessarily align with the plans that were approved by Saugatuck and Manly's Township, so they wanted to run it by both
Does
boards.
the Pacer score, and maybe you know this, is it 1 to 5, 1 to 10?
1 to 5.
Okay.
Has Manlius approved yet?
Their supervisor sent an email saying that they were in favor of the project, of extending the scope of the repaving of 60th. So
And
yeah,
paying half.
and paying half.
But
But we don't
Congrats
know.
on that, because I know they were giving us a lot of grief over top grade and Old Allegan Road and
Yeah, no, we've made a lot of progress in just
Yeah.
being good neighbors,
That's
and it's
significant.
very, yeah. So
Well,
it's
I think you probably deserve the
Yes.
a nice.
the pat on the
person to
back
work
for that.
with. Mhm. So will
just want to
they
make sure
wait?
that, so they're, I'm sorry,
Oh.
but, so they're not having a special meeting. I'm just-
I don't know what they're
we need to
doing.
Keep our eye on this.
Yeah,
is what I'm
they
saying.
may or may not. I just know that the supervisor did indicate to the road commission that
Yeah, but that's-
they're in favor of this.
That's not a board vote.
I think it's possible that they might operate a little bit differently.
Mhm.
You mean now?
I don't know. I think that sometimes there's just more of like consensus on different things, or I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure,
Well,
but
No,
This
I
is-
don't-
yeah.
That'd be great. And better relationship
Yes.
with us. so,
Mhm.
Yeah, and we had been getting a lot of correspondence related to this road,
Okay.
a lot of phone calls, emails about residents on both sides.
and you do have an email from the supervisor, right? So there's
Yes.
at least that paper
Good.
trail
Yes.
of them making that commitment, John. So I hear what you're saying. Becky, were you gonna say something?
Well, I was just gonna ask if top grade has a lot of work yet to do that needs to be completed before we complete the road.
I brought that up to Dana and to Lene, and if it were the case that they were bringing trucks onto the road, I would coordinate with the road commission. And we would also have a condition in there that all the material that they were gonna bring onto the site had to be on there by a specific date. Dana thought that it was very reasonable that that we could coordinate with the road commission to ensure that the improvement projects of the road occurred after the site work for the mine.
Okay.
So is this work scheduled yet, or?
It's not scheduled
It'll
yet.
be
No,
Calendar 23 probably?
it's calendar 23. And then we would be working with the road commission to ensure that they don't get to these projects until after the reclamation process is finished at the mine
But
site.
as you know, top grades kind of disappeared again.
Yeah,
We don't
well,
have a good handle on when the reclamation will
they did submit for not November, but December.
December.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do have materials in for them.
See how that one goes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anybody feeling moved?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Celebrate here. I'd like to move to approve the requested project scope change for the repaving of 60th Street to include the portion of 60th Street south of Old Allegan Road, contingent upon a cost sharing commitment from Manlius Township.
There you go.
I support that.
Motion by Humrick, support by Israel's. This is a roll call. So Helmrich,
Yes.
Israels,
Yes,
Bigford, yes, Marcy,
Yes,
motion carries 4-0. And just realized, I apologize, I forgot to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We shall do it next time. I feel like we sometimes do them at special meetings or workshops and sometimes don't, and that was my error. Brings us back to public comment. Yes, Mr. Strom,
That I stand or may I?
you may sit. This is a little more casual, or stand, it's up to you.
In regard to the remodeling of this building, you and I spoke briefly via Chief Janik, and you know what my business is, it's electronic security. And so I guess what I want to know is, would you like me to make a proposal or a bid or whatever we call it on basic security? It doesn't have to be the full fire alarm, burglar alarm, camera system. But we all know that a lot of people thought, gee, it can't happen here, this is a small town. Well, you get schools shut up, stuff like that. So a basic system, I think, with panic buttons under the desks. We have a camera system here that I installed a couple of years ago that can be easily modified. I can move things around. Just to have anything outside this building recorded. Frankly, I think it's because the political world has gotten so crazy lately that you really can't trust anybody walking in the door anymore. So if you'd like, I can give you a proposal on that sort of thing. Okay. All right.
We were discussing that the other day.
Yeah, we did tell Alba Marsh that we wanted everything wired for that, so that they did take that into account, but we need to reach out specifically to you for actually bidding it out.
would we also have a fire alarm system that would call?
If you like, I mean, it's, you know, that would add greatly to the cost.
Could we have a fire?
You could, but it would add greatly to the cost. That's not cheap.
I feel like Stacy reported for her fire report something about Janik saying, like, it was like some sort of system that monitors like how hot or cold it is in here, or if there was a.
Because if we're not here.
It's
and
a
there's fire.
it's a
we won't know
direct-
until the flames are shooting under the roof.
So what it would be is if like the smoke alarm went off, it would go directly to the fire department. Like right now, it's just an alarm that
Okay,
goes
that's what
off.
she was describing.
That's what Greg, yeah, that's
Has
what,
that been
we did-
considered by the design committee as well?
yeah, we told them that we wanted them to wire it for security. We talked about panic buttons. We've recently brought up a door release on the front door with a buzzer. So that when somebody comes in, that can be turned off if we have a big event going on, but yeah, so that it would be someone comes to the front door, they press the doorbell, we see who they are, we buzz them in on kind of regular business hours, which is a practice that's in place at the fire district and Cal Lake
Like at school, it's
and
pretty common.
schools. Yeah,
We used to have the fire department open all the time, and now the doors are locked.
mhm.
Press the button and you get access granted. Or not.
Thanks, Elliot.
Mhm.
Yes,
I came here as an observer of public meetings. I think I'm gonna be coming in the future to other meetings in the township. So I had no gender to say anything as a public comment based on any group I'm involved with, but just on the election, I thought I'd throw out that my son worked for 7 years in Ottawa County and was the elections director for Ottawa County. He's now with the Federal Elections Assistance Commission. So I just threw it out there. I think they'd be a good resource. And I don't know how much you, if maybe you know from the or if you worked with Ottawa County people at all, but that's what he's doing now. He trained the election workers with Justin Roebuck, the county clerk in Ottawa. So again, it's the Federal Elections Assistance Commission, and they might be a resource you might not be aware of.
And I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name's Michael Deitch, and my son Stephen Deitch is one of the, it works in the Federal Elections Commission. He's I think his title is like Senior Election Specialist. He's gonna be out in Clark County, Nevada with one of the commissioners observing Clark County on election day. But for years, for several years, he was the election coordinator or a director in Ottawa. I think it's a woman, I don't really know her, I've met her, but Katie Sims is a woman there who has his job now. But I think with the Elections Assistance Commission, I was gone through meetings with clerks around the country, and it's just, I know you were doing research and calling people. I just thought I'd throw it out there as another resource you might look into. I think the website is EAC.gov. I'm not sure, but and they have a lot of good materials on it. He did training for years in Ottawa.
And who are you here with tonight?
Right here, I'm going to look at home township.
You're here with whom tonight?
Well, I'm part of the League of Women Voters of Observer Corps.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, as an observer, not gonna take any positions without, and shouldn't even be speaking, I think, from their point of view, without going to the president of the organization, because I can't speak for them. But it's just to write reports and meetings, and we've got members who just kind of started this who live in different jurisdictions who are going to their like the county commissioner meetings, those kinds of things. We're just kind of getting it going, trying to just reports as another source of information in the community, like your big addition to the commercial record. There's people ask me what's going on, and even like their neighborhood, I live right here across the street from where the post auto camp is, and there's a lot of discussion on those things. So just I think I could be somewhat useful in being here, and then people know like.
No.
No, that would be great. There's not much coverage of the township anymore,
Yeah, I know, I got the once a week commercial record, and it's.
but they don't.
and
Probably
they-
okay.
they still-
I know, but
No news
that means
is
the good
good
stuff
news,
doesn't get
John.
covered either.
At least from my perspective, we welcome more community involvement. We welcome you as another layer of transparency. We're pretty proud of how we conduct business here, and we want people to see there's nothing sneaky going on, nothing underhanded. We deliberate, we talk, we make the best decisions for our constituents. So we thank you for becoming involved.
And again, I think the league is a really good organization, and
Yep.
as far as I might think,
We do too.
yeah, I know there's some members in Saugatuck, I don't know about Saugatuck Township, but like, say I'm the observer court, Saugatuck Township, but other people might come to, but we'll see on that, but again, we just get started with their writing reports that are now probably just for each other, but maybe myself, but I think, again, like I said, it's another source of information, and I'd be glad to be helpful if you ever want to
Great.
get something from the Elections Assistance Commission.
Okay.
Thank you. I was writing it down as you spoke, so I'll check out
Yeah, check out the
EAC.gov,
website.
but probably not till after the election.
Right. Well, normally we're not quite as casual, just so you know. We don't usually have a conversation with our people doing
Audience, yeah.
audience, but today's a little bit more of a casual meeting, and when time allows, we do, so that's a nice thing to.
I was at a board meeting where there was like 16 people and 15 speakers, so.
Right.
I think
It was
I was
timed
just
and-
there, it's
3
like,
minutes.
Yeah.
does anybody else have a comment? So, I didn't, but I didn't introduce myself yet to say that I'm gonna show up at meetings and not have comments, so.
I do remember your face at a recent meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, okay, there's no other comments, any on Zoom, we're good? No, okay, well, I will, what's that?
We would love to.
Okay, I will adjourn this special meeting of the Saugatuck Township Board at 3:09. The can.
And we're still on next Wednesday, right?
Yeah.